Welcome to the news edition of I Wrote This Podcast. Today is January 12, 2022. Here's what you need to know to start your day. U.S. President Joe Biden has called for a major change to Senate rules as he seeks to overhaul the country's election laws. A Senate majority of 60% is currently needed to pass most legislation. With the Senate split 50-50 between the two parties, Biden's election bills are almost certain not to pass unless there is a change to that rule. In a speech on Tuesday, Biden said he supported changes that would allow the voting reforms to be passed under a simple majority. Those changes would require the support of every Democrat in the Senate as well as the tie-breaking vote of the Vice President. The bills, the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, passed the House of Representatives last year. The Canadian province of Quebec announced Tuesday that residents who have refused a COVID-19 vaccine will soon have to pay a fine. Few details have been announced, but authorities said the amount to be levied would be significant. Last week, Quebec announced that residents would have to be vaccinated if they wanted to buy alcohol or cannabis. Quebec's health minister noted that vaccine appointments rose sharply after that announcement. An unusual ground stop was issued to some pilots for a short period of time following a North American Aerospace Defense Command alert of a launch of a North Korean missile. The motivation for the ground stop remains somewhat unclear. North Korea conducted what is thought to be a ballistic missile test around 7:27 a.m. local time Tuesday. That missile was launched from an inland base, traveled east and fell into the sea. A statement from U.S. Forces Korea said North Korea's test posed no threat to U.S. or South Korean territory or military personnel, and a spokesperson said NORAD didn't issue a warning regarding a potential threat to the U.S. Despite those assurances, the Federal Aviation Administration, responsible for the nation's air traffic control system, said the ground stop was to err on the side of safety. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration says that an asteroid estimated to be a kilometer wide will fly by Earth within a few days. It will pass within 1.2 million miles of our planet, moving at 47,344 miles per hour according to NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. The center tracks potentially hazardous comets and asteroids that could collide with our planet. Nobody expects the asteroid to hit Earth, but it's the closest the asteroid will come for the next 2 centuries according to NASA projections. The flyby is expected to take place on Tuesday, January 18th at 4:51 p.m. Eastern. Amateur astronomers with a telescope should be able to spot the asteroid, but will certainly miss it if they don't look up.
This comet is what we call a planet killer.
At this exact moment, I say we sit tight and assess.
Sit tight and assess?
Sit tight.
And then assess. The sit tight part comes first, then you gotta digest it. That's the assessment period.
It's time for On This Date in History. On this day in 1915, the U.S. Congress establishes Rocky Mountain National Park. On this day in 1959, Berry Gordy Jr. founded what would later be known as Motown Records. On this day in 1971, the groundbreaking television series All in the Family debuted on CBS. The sitcom became known for its frank and satirical treatment of sensitive and important topics. On this day in 2010, Haiti is devastated by a massive earthquake. It drew an outpouring of support from around the globe, but the small nation has yet to fully recover. Celebrating birthdays today are actress Kirstie Alley, radio host Howard Stern, actor Oliver Platt, heavy metal's Rob Zombie, and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. By the way, if you or someone you know has a birthday coming up, send us an email or leave us a voice message with a greeting. We will be happy to include that in an upcoming show. You'll find the links in the show notes. Today's news was brought to us by the BBC, CNN, ABC, Netflix, History.com, HistoryNet.com, Britannica, and Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at IWTP all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is IWTP all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Neese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.